Okay, another thing to think about, why do I need trekking poles, or why do I need a hiking pole? Great question. A lot of different reasons. Some people might like them because of orthopedic issues. Maybe you had knee surgery last year, or you're getting over an ankle fracture like I am. Maybe you're having some balance and stability issues and you just want the extra stability. Maybe you're in perfect shape and are an avid hiker, you just want to be able to hike faster. I know for me personally, when I have two trekking poles, I can move a lot faster, especially over uneven terrain without fear of falling. So it just makes me a lot quicker on difficult trails. All right, let's look at how we're going to adjust this Pike Trail hiking pole. There's a lot of different ways to measure it, but one idea is just to take an old hiking stick that you might already have, which I have right here. You can see the dark stain where obviously my hand likes to walk with this. So that's what I'm going to shoot for lengthwise on this Pike Trail hiking pole. You've got your aluminum clasp right there. We're going to let the first part out, which actually has measurements in centimeters. The most it's going to let you go out is 135. It says stop. So I'm going to go back down to about 125 and just stop it right there. Clamp it down. Now we're going to do the bottom section and let that out. And again, I kind of have my height gauge that I'm going for, just about right here. I'm pretty close to that. So let's go ahead and try that. So I'm going to clamp that down, and now I've got it about the height that I want for hiking, and I'd rather it probably too tall than too short. So that is how I adjusted my new hiking pole. So let's see how it does on the trail. All right, now I'm ready to hit the trail with my new trekking poles, now that I've got them adjusted to the length I want by doing the two different locks after I let the pole all the way out. And then the only other thing to adjust is the wrist strap. Each one of them's got a wrist strap that you can tighten by just pulling down on the single piece, and it'll tighten that loop. And then there's a little rubber piece that you tuck back in there, and that, once you pull that wrist strap a little bit tighter and you kind of snug, you wedge that rubber piece into the little groove, and that'll keep your wrist strap where you've now put it. You don't want it real loose. You want it a little snug so that your wrist and the bottom of your palm kind of hangs on that wrist strap and takes some of the weight of your hand and arm. Then you don't have to grip quite as hard on the actual handles. And if you're doing an all-day hike, through hiking, camping trip, that kind of thing, it'll help save your grip strength and lets you just take a little more weight on that wrist strap rather than having to grip real hard. So I've got those how I want, and I'm ready to go. So one of the main reasons I even got trekking poles in my 30s actually was I was having knee pain going downhill, and having the trekking poles to help take some of my support on a downhill slope really decreased my knee pain. So I'm going to do a little demonstration of how to use the trekking poles to help alleviate knee pain if that is one of the reasons that you're using them. All right, let's look how we're going to do a downhill slope using the poles step for step to try to take off some of the pressure that could cause knee pain, especially if you have any kind of arthritis. Now what I'm trying to do, if you can do it this way, is it's going to be opposite pole per step. So what I'm trying to do in the step for step method is it's going to be opposite pole for whichever leg you're stepping. So the pole's going to be a little ahead of your step. So in this case, it's going to be right pole, left foot, left pole, right foot. Right pole, left foot, left pole, right foot. And what you're trying to do is take a little weight through your arms as you make that step. I'm taking a lot of weight through this left hand, and it's taking the pressure off of that knee and helping to take away any knee pain I might have. Let me do it one more time. And you can see that pole hits just a split second before my foot does. And that actually really helps a lot in decreasing the impact on your knees. Okay, one more thing I want y'all to think about as far as adjusting the height is if you're doing a long descent, you actually want the poles a little bit taller, because now you're going downhill, you need them to reach further in front of you. So just something to think about as far as height adjustment. They could be a little on the shorter side for uphill climbs. They need to be a little on the taller, longer side for your downhill hiking. Okay, so looking at the Pike Trail trekking poles, hiking poles, in summary, I think it's a great option for people just wanting to get a decent hiking pole to get out there on the trail without breaking the bank. I really like these. And I will put a link in the description to the Amazon link where you can get them, and you can get all the product information on there as well. But just to go through everything real quick in this video, I'll just go through the actual design. It's got a cork handle, which they say is naturally moisture wicking, and it is pretty ergonomic and comfortable. And then you've got the wrist strap, which I showed earlier, for helping to take some of the pressure off of your hand grip. And then it's got even extra padding down here below the handle. And as I mentioned earlier, it's completely made out of carbon fiber, which makes it really lightweight. I think they said it's only 7 ounces each pole, so very lightweight. Aluminum locks instead of cheap plastic locks. And then I've got the small rubber tip on here, but it actually comes with an entire bag of accessories of different tips that you can put on the trekking pole. You can take this off and switch it out. So in looking at this compared to some of the more expensive trekking poles, like the Leki hiking pole, trekking pole, which is what I first started hiking with years ago, this is definitely less expensive and a little bit lighter weight as well. The Leki poles are made out of aluminum. This is made out of carbon fiber. I actually had a small boulder roll down the hill towards me that my husband accidentally dislodged. I was able to step out of the way pretty quickly, but my Leki pole got caught by the small rock, and it just snapped my aluminum pole in half. So I'm down to one Leki pole. But the big difference is I think the handles are very similar. The Leki pole, the way it locks, it's a twist mechanism, and you slide it and then put it where you want it. You have to twist it back and get it to hold. I've sometimes had that mechanism start to fail where I can't get the bottom one to lock in place. So that's been frustrating to me. The Leki poles also have a spring shock in the tip so that it actually gives with a little bit with each impact that you make, where these do not. Pike Trail claims that the carbon fiber structure of this actually does have a little bit of shock absorption naturally built into it. So if you're doing a lot of upper body use, or you have hand and wrist issues, maybe you would like the spring shock function that's in the more expensive Leki poles. But in my case, this is perfectly fine for what I'm using it for. So that was not a big issue for me. And then the other thing on my Leki pole, they actually had the metal tip. I probably could have bought the rubber tip accessory to put on those, but I just kept the metal tip on for years, which was fine on dirt trails. But if that metal tip on that older trekking pole hit any type of rock surface, it was very, very slippery. So be very careful if you have metal tips on your trekking poles. They do not do well on any type of hard rock surface. So I prefer the small rubber tips. So that's kind of my comparison and my breakdown of the more economic Pike Trail hiking poles versus the more expensive Leki trekking poles that have been out for a while now. As far as accessories go, with the Pike Trail trekking poles, they came as a double set, 2 of each. You can pick a lot of different colors. They have a lot of color options. And then it comes with this actual carrying bag with a little handle on it. I probably wouldn't really use this unless maybe we were traveling somewhere. And then it comes with all these accessories, which are different rubber tips. Well, I think they're really more of a hard plastic, but it comes with these different tips you can exchange out for the small rubber. You've got kind of a big wide basket that they say is more for snow or mud. Then you've got this little kind of rocker foot with pretty heavy tread on it. That would actually probably work pretty well. You've got little clips that'll actually clip the 2 poles to each other. You've got a couple of those, again, for if you're just transporting or carrying them. And then you've got just sort of a wider, medium-sized tip as well. So I really like the small rubber tips that I've got on there right now. That's my favorite so far, but it's kind of nice that you have all of these options that you can exchange out for different types of terrain and whatever type of hiking you're doing. So anyway, that's my Pike Trail trekking pole review. Thanks for watching and happy hiking.